Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sift through fascinating material to bring you crucial insights and hopefully a fresh perspective. Today we're doing something really special, a deep dive into your own very personal family story. It's this incredibly rich tapestry of history, spiritual questions, and looking at karma, destiny, the afterlife. It really takes courage to share all this, and we're genuinely honored you've trusted us with your account.
Absolutely. And what we have here is, well, it's quite a collection, your detailed personal history, but it's interwoven with these spiritual insights that offer explanations for, life's big challenges and wins. So our mission today is to pull out those key insights from the spiritual teachings you've given us, try to connect the dots between actions and consequences as these traditions see them, and just help you understand the principles at play in your family's amazing experiences.
Okay, let's do it. Let's start at the beginning, the foundations. You mentioned your grandparents were Chinese immigrants arriving with two sons, and your father, the younger son, he started out in the family pawn shop. What's amazing is he only had an M.3 education, that's like junior high. But his diligence, his perseverance, it was just remarkable. Taught himself English, dealt with foreigners, and then built this famous cloth business in Bangkok.
Yeah.
And because of that, all his kids, including you, got higher education, even studied abroad. There's clearly so much gratitude there for their hard work.
It really is an inspiring story, and the spiritual sources you shared give an interesting perspective on this. While your father's formal schooling was limited, his knack for business providing so well, it's explained as stemming from significant giving in past lives, supporting relatives, helping the world. These generous acts, according to the teachings, they create the conditions for wealth, even without those conventional advantages, like lots of schooling. And there's that detail about his elder brother, your uncle. The sources suggest he got that higher education specifically because he'd accumulated merit from supporting education for others before. So you see different karmic seeds sort of blooming in different ways, even in one family.
That's fascinating. A very specific link. Now, your father achieved so much materially, but later in life, you shared he faced big health challenges, heart disease, 2 surgeries, pacemakers, and he could barely walk, 200 meters without needing to stop. You also mentioned he was pretty skeptical about making a lot of merit, often advised against too much donation, although he did do some things like building those Buddha images for himself and his parents. So how do these things, the health issues, the skepticism, fit into that karmic picture?
That's a really good question, and the sources connect them directly. His heart disease, the difficulty walking. They're linked back to past life karma. Specifically, these texts indicate a history of overworking animals and servants, pushing them too hard, and also karma from ordering the killing of animals for food. That exhaustion, that strain from past overexertion, it manifests, these teachings say, as heart problems now. And the walking difficulty is seen as a mix of that past karma plus the effects of the surgeries and, just getting older.
Wow. So it's like an energetic echo of how beings were treated. And meanwhile, your mother, you said she went to the temple more often, though caring for your father meant she couldn't go as much later on.
And their longevity, both reaching 80. That's attributed to past merit, too. Specifically, regularly donating food to the poor and needy. Their connection to the spiritual community was there, the sources say, but kind of intermittent. They made what's called provisioning merit, like spiritual savings, but sporadically, which explains why sometimes you see those on-again, off-again spiritual connections across lifetimes.
Which brings us right to your question, a very heartfelt one.
Yeah.
How can I draw them closer to this path?
Yeah. The guidance here points towards patience and consistent, gentle effort. Keep making merit, dedicating it to them. Gently introduce spiritual ideas, always with a calm heart, not pushing. And there's this interesting point about your good disobedience, doing good deeds even when your father maybe didn't approve. It's not about disrespect, but about forging your own merit path. And the sources suggest this actually creates a difference in your merit levels. Down the line, it could mean maybe you wouldn't be parent and child again, but perhaps relatives where they might need your help, your merit.
Ah, I see. The different kind of connection.
Exactly. And as for his discouraging merit making, the teachings warn that if his own past good karma hasn't fully ripened yet, those actions, stinginess, attachment, could potentially lead to financial difficulties or distance from these teachings in a future life. It really highlights individual responsibility, doesn't it?
It really does. Individual paths, even within a family.
Oh.
Okay, let's move on to your elder brother. You described him as diligent, persevering, a medical professor, deeply loving, devoted to his parents. Sounds like a wonderful person.
He does indeed. And the sources emphasize his compassion as a doctor, beloved by patients. His care for the venerable teacher's mother really shows that empathy.
But his personal life, he said, was more complex, a difficult relationship with his wife. She was also a professional, talented, but maybe not very attentive to him, even though he loved her very much. They had one child.
Mm-hmm. And the karmic view on this, from the sources, is quite specific. They were apparently both doctors in a past life, deeply in love then, too. They kept wishing to be together again. His deep love meant he sort of accepted her nature. But according to these teachings, she carried this innate tendency, a disinclination to be very attentive. And that trait just persisted across lifetimes, despite their bond.
Wow. And he also struggled with sleep, which is, as you said, pretty ironic for a doctor. He'd even scold monks about sleep troubles. Yet he relied on daily beer, sometimes sleeping pills, even overdosed twice, though thankfully nothing serious happened.
Yeah, that reliance on external things for sleep, even as a doctor, it points to maybe a struggle finding that inner calm, that restfulness. The sources don't pinpoint a single karmic cause for this sleep issue itself, but they do suggest that lacking inner peace can lead people to seek outside relief, and that can have its own karmic ripples, as we see next.
Because, tragically, your brother passed away very young, just 50, from heart disease back in 1996. And after he passed, you and your mother made merit for him, created a personal Buddha image, a really loving act.
A very significant act. His early death, the sources explain, is linked to past karma. Two main things, actually. In a past life as a doctor, even if unintentionally, he made medical errors that resulted in patient deaths. That, combined with karma from ordering the killing of large animals for food in another past life. Those two life-taking karmas came together, the teachings say, and shortened his lifespan in this existence. It's not about blame or intent here, but it's a reminder from these sources that our actions, especially in professions affecting life, carry real weight. Mindfulness is key.
That's a very sobering thought, how actions ripple. And about a year before he died, your mother had that troubling dream. She saw him as if detained, looking somber, unhappy, saying goodbye. That must have been deeply worrying for her. What did the sources say about that dream?
That dream reflected a sort of transitional phase for him. But the good news, according to the sources, is that because of his own merits and assistance from the venerable teacher, he's now a handsome deva, a celestial being, living in a golden palace in Tavatimsa heaven. The third level, it's described as a very joyful realm in Buddhist cosmology. He's apparently very happy there now and receives all the merit that you dedicate to him.
Oh, that's wonderful news. Such a relief. And what a turnaround. You mentioned making merit for him. Were there specific things that really helped his journey to that celestial place?
Yes, two acts are highlighted in the sources. One was donating a gold necklace, which he'd inherited from his grandmother, towards making a 1-ton gold statue of Fra Mongkolthep Muni, a highly revered master. But even more impactful, apparently, was him doing those health checkups for the venerable teacher's mother. That particular act of care, the sources reveal, dramatically reduced his past negative karma from both the medical mistakes and the animal killing. It essentially secured a much better, longer future existence for him. He's said to be extremely happy right now.
Amazing. And didn't he have a message for everyone from heaven?
He did indeed. A very clear message came through, according to the sources. Merit is real. Heaven is real. I want everyone to make a lot of merit and not be complacent in life. It's a powerful testimony, really, from that perspective, about the reality of these principles and the need for diligence in doing good.
What a message to receive. Wow. Okay, let's shift now to your own spiritual journey. You said your interest in Buddhism started back in high school, ethics classes. You sought out meditation masters even as a student. And then, while studying abroad, a cousin introduced you to the Dhammakaya temple. And your husband, he also got involved with meditation. Respected Buddhism, but wasn't keen on what he called yogi Indian meditation, or TM, transcendental meditation. He described it as hopping up and down. And he invited you to try it too.
Right. And this, according to the sources, points to a really deep old connection your husband has with this type of practice. In a past life, way back, before the Buddha's time, he was apparently an ascetic, a rishi, searching for life's meaning. That short period of ascetic practice and TM's focus on stress relief, it resonated. It gave him a pleasant, sort of trance-like feeling that felt familiar from that past life.
Okay, so that explains his affinity. And you described the practice itself as hopping up and down, or hop, hop, hop. You couldn't float at first, but after dedicating merit, you could hop. And the TM folks explained this hopping as the start of levitation, like a plane taking off.
Yeah, and this is where we need to draw a distinction. based on the broader spiritual context provided in the sources. True levitation, like you read about with figures like Fropendola Hardvaja in the scriptures. It's a smooth ascent, no bouncing, sometimes even lifting heavy objects. And even modern accounts describe it as like gentle floating, like cotton wool. The hopping you experienced. The sources identify this as a specific type of piti, meditative joy, or rapture, called ufenka piti, exultant rapture. It literally makes the body bounce or jump. Apparently, there are even annual gatherings, the sources mention, in Nahan Patham, where people demonstrate exactly this. So it's a real meditative state, just different from scriptural levitation.
Okay, so it's a known phenomenon, Uffenkapiti, just maybe not levitation itself. You also mentioned that after the TM experience, when you first meditated at Doisotha, you felt stressed and were shaking constantly. And that only stopped when you heard a senior practitioner's voice guiding you.
Exactly. That shaking was the same thing, the upinkapiti again. The sources suggest it persisted because at the time you probably interpreted it as a positive sign, maybe even the goal based on the previous TM experience. So your mind kind of held on to it. It stopped when you got clearer instruction, understood the proper meditation techniques from the Buddhist path, and let go of focusing on that old method. Shows how powerful our focus is in meditation.
Makes sense. You also observed that while TM aimed for stress relief, people could get irritable or moody if they missed a session or didn't rest enough afterwards, feeling stuck in a trance-like state. So pulling these TM points together, what's the takeaway on its effect and limits, according to these spiritual teachings?
Well, from the perspective of these sources, that trance-like state, yes, it can be pleasant, relaxing, but it seems to require proper rest afterwards. Without enough rest, it can lead to irritability, especially if someone's already stressed. The main point from these teachings is that while it offers temporary relief, it doesn't inherently lead to the deeper spiritual insights or answers about life's meaning. For that, the guidance is to switch to the Buddha's methods, aiming for wisdom, for liberation. Interestingly, the sources acknowledge some TM practitioners did see inner lights or orbs, felt great happiness, but were still told by teachers to focus on the hopping. Perhaps a misunderstanding, the sources suggest, of how to guide people deeper.
A critical difference, then, between temporary, calm, and lasting transformation. And you contrasted this with your experience at the temple, feeling warm, stress-free, refreshed, ready for work with joy. And you said both you and your husband pitch in on all the merit projects with 1,000 Hearts Unlimited. Sounds like you really found your spiritual home there. Okay, let's look at one more family branch, your husband's mother. Wealthy Chinese family background, but prone to depression, suspicion, spirit worship, and often argued with her daughter, your husband's sister.
Right. According to the spiritual sources you provided, her depression, the suspicion, the argumentativeness, these are seen as echoes, remnants of past karma. Primarily from frequently drinking alcohol in a past life, maybe not habitually, but enough to leave a karmic trace affecting her mental state. Plus, karma from arguing with her own parents in a previous life is now, the teachings say, manifesting as her daughter arguing with her. It's that pattern repeating across generations.
That pattern again. And the sister, your husband's sister. Sounds like a kind person. American educated. Came back just to care for her parents. But she ends up arguing frequently with her mother, getting frustrated by the nagging and resistance to change. And the mother gets distressed, seeing her daughter as kind of a lost hope. A really tough dynamic.
It really is. And the sources connect the sister's argumentative behavior right back to being the result, the ripening of the mother's own past karma of arguing with her parents. Now, about the sister's own challenges, her suicide attempt, which thankfully didn't succeed, this is linked in the teachings to past alcohol use stemming from disappointments, work, money, relationships. But crucially, her past merit from releasing animals, saving lives, is what protected her at that critical moment, preventing the karma from completing. The underlying suicide karma is still there, the sources say, but it won't fully manifest this time. The advice given is for you to be a good spiritual friend, encourage her in making merit, help her understand these life principles.
Such complex layers.
Yeah.
You also mentioned your own experience with hearing loss in your left ear. What did the sources indicate about that?
A very specific explanation was given for that. It's seen as karma from times in the past when you turned a deaf ear to your parents' advice or scolding. Because it wasn't every time, the teaching suggests, the karma wasn't heavy enough to affect both ears, just the one. A direct reflection.
Wow, very direct indeed. Okay, as we bring this incredible family picture together, what about the karmic connection between you and your husband and your connection to the temple community where you found so much meaning?
The sources reveal a really deep and long-lasting bond for you two. You've apparently been husband and wife for many, many lifetimes. And together, you've consistently made that provisioning merit with this spiritual community across different eras, previous eons even. It shows a very strong, enduring spiritual partnership. Your connection to a specific figure, a great president of the temple, also goes way back to distant past lives where you were relatives and made merit together then too. These spiritual ties can be incredibly ancient, so the encouragement from these insights is really just to keep going wholeheartedly, keep making merit, aspire to follow the bodhisattva path together, ensuring you continue to meet and support each other.
This deep dive has been, well, quite the journey. Looking at just one family's story through the lens of these spiritual sources you shared, it really shows the intricate patterns of karma, doesn't it? The impact of actions, the different ways people seek spiritual growth, those intergenerational echoes, and the power attributed to dedicated merit. It really opens your eyes to how destiny is viewed in these teachings.
It certainly does. And perhaps a final thought to leave you with, building on all this. Understanding that merit is real, that heaven is real, as your Deva brother shared from his own experience, what small, consistent act of kindness or spiritual practice could you maybe introduce into your daily life starting today? Something that might just ripple outwards through time, through generations, potentially transforming not just your own future, but maybe the destinies of those you care about too. This whole exploration really invites us all to make conscious choices, knowing that the tapestry of our lives, according to these principles, is always being woven right now.